We, those that are enlightened, have to think in terms of three soul evolutions in order to trace the karma and then the projection of the karma that is happening in the now well into the future. In other words, into the next solar system. And between now and the next solar system, there's one more globe to be formed, which I call the Saturn globe of the Earth chain. And that globe is already forming in our solar system. And it's different to the way that physicists think. Though my book, Esoteric Cosmology and Modern Physics, integrates modern physics and our esoteric philosophy. It's well integrated. I do have a science degree, so I have a little bit of ability to think scientifically. And so it's well integrated. And I point out and prove in my writings there the way that things materialize from the inner planes, from the subjective dimensions of perception, starting in this case from the mental plane, and then it goes through to the astral, etheric, and then physical. And then I go into the construction of atoms, how atoms form, and so forth. That particular book was came into being when I was in India last. I was at a place called Sarnath, which is the Tibetan university there. And I was asked to give a talk, which I gave a talk actually on the Vajra. And I never got through most of my talk, there wasn't enough time, but I very, very much impressed a professor of physics. And so he invited me down to Bangalore at the Institute of, or National Institute of Advanced Studies, which is where he was teaching the physics. And then I was there hosted by him at that university for about a month. And we discussed physics and esotericism for that month. And during the proceedings of discussing physics and esotericism, I started writing this particular book that finally got published as Esoteric Cosmology and Modern Physics. So it was actually through discussions with a well-known physicist in India, Professor Sissa Roy. India is very good because, of course, many of the academics, they have the Hindu religion behind them. They're religionists, and they're quite intrigued to see how their religion and modern science fit together. And so our discussion was really along those lines, and Professor Sissa Roy was very much interested in this. So I'm pointing out that I do have some scientific background. I actually went to university many years ago now because I wanted the science to back up my spirituality. From my point of view, especially in this Western materialistic world that we all live in, that one needs the science in order to speak with some authority in religion. So the science is there and relatively well understood. Of course, I'm not a physicist. I studied chemistry, but that's all just part of the thing. So when it comes to, like explained in my book there, and this particular book, Esoteric Cosmology and Modern Physics, integrates information, one of my earlier books, which I just called Divine Causation, and that gives much of the background esotericism and diagrams and charts and things that's normally I would expect all of you to already understand. And I understand, of course, that some of you, for instance, Leslie's come from the Theosophical school, so has done some study of the Alice Bailey material. Others have not. For instance, some of our Buddhists and the people in Turkey. And so it's a game of catch up. And at the same time, I'm discussing some of the highest philosophy that exists on this planet and giving it to you, and realizing also that you do not have some of the basics. There's a lot of information, of course, in the web site of mine, where a lot of the fundamental teachings are there, which all of you can read, study, catch up. And of course, there are books. Of course, the books by Alice Bailey are vast. And I want all the people that are studying Bailey to learn more Buddhism, because my philosophy is an integration of the two, and which then makes me a bit of a maverick in the Bailey people because they don't understand Buddhism on the whole. And then, for instance, the Secret Doctrine book brings in Advaita Vedanta philosophy as well to incorporate the Hindu religion, because Buddhism is very, very poor when it comes to causation, how things come into being. The Secret Doctrine is all about that, but again, the information, the fundamental information of how atoms come into existence is not there. That's in my book. So it's actually quite a vast undertaking and a vast study that all of you are engrossed in or engaged in, incorporating modern physics and all of the important world religions, with the Buddhism specifically as the backbone of that, because it's the synthesis of the religions that came before, and then going through the entire cult studies that was instigated by Blavatsky and then Bailey and the Roerich people, and going right through to the modern era. So this is a, as I said, a vast undertaking. Talking to you, what I've been focused on and concentrating on up till now, what is most important for you to know of all of that. And because all of you are esoteric students and initiates, reincarnated from past lives, you have yoga background, you've been enlightened in past lives and been taught by great ones. And so you've reincarnated in the various bodies we all have and trying to pick up where you left off. All of you have already a great innate understanding of the esoteric philosophy. It's just a matter of reawakening you to what you already inherently know and then progressing you further. The important thing, therefore, is, as I said, as soon as you start to awaken perceptions, and as I said, I work with the Masters of Wisdom, I don't work singularly, it's just a teamwork, like you are also expected to, to be a team, to help each other, to educate yourselves as well, but as a team, as a group, as a mandala, you function. And on the inner realms, it's the same thing. We are a mandala. We work integratedly as a team, and one or the other of the masters come to give their 2 bits worth, I'll use that phrase. And in your instruction, for instance, Sarah's received recently some impressions from Serapis, and I decided to use her dream meditation experience to educate all of you a little bit about some of the masters. And they will not just simply appear like like they did, for instance, in Blavatsky's time, and leave phenomena lying around. Like in the time of Blavatsky, they often materialized letters. The people went out of the room, and they came back and there was a letter waiting for them on the table, and they went and read the letter. They have pictures of this type of materialization. In the Victorian era, with that extreme type of skepticism and materialistic thinking, that was a mechanism that the masters used to help educate those Victorian minds. And of course, all of you would love to have that type of phenomena appear for you. It'd make your life so much easier, wouldn't it? But it's not the way we're now working in a much more subtler methodology, and one of them is through communications that are numerically coded. The numerically coding has been given in my book, volume 1 of this secret doctrine that I'm presently working on. We'll be publishing soon, which is the volume 2. And so that's this particular methodology, plus awakening inner perceptions within you so that you can battle the DB, because they begin to hound you. You have to, all of you, because you're initiates, because you're psychic in past lives, because you're involved in magic, because you're yogins, you awaken these perceptions then, and we are now reawakening to a degree as much as possible your perceptions again, so that you can continue where you left off in those lives to fix up psychic karma. So teachings on the Dark Brotherhood have been quite important. Teachings on group evolution also has been quite important. I've given quite a bit of information on group evolution in my meditation book in the last chapters, and that is also one of the keys to the New Age. Hierarchy, and that is the enlightened beings, if you want, the Council of Enlightened Beings, have stopped, in a sense, teaching, progressing individuals for enlightenment. It's group evolution, group initiation, which is now what they collectively are working upon, because it's the keynote of the Aquarian age. Those of you who know a little bit about astrology will understand the concept of group consciousness in Aquarius. So that's another thing that all of you are working on. So we have a 12-petal lotus in our organization, and that again means the awakening of a heart center, and the heart center is what hierarchy is. The journey to the sun also brings you into the heart, your own heart, the heart in your head, which is another 12-petal lotus. The actual number is 1056 petals, which you can read about in my 5th volume of my series, but it's all governed according to 12 main petals. And the petals actually are moved by a moving swastika, a Vispa Vajra, for the groupings of petals. When they revolve, it's a swastika, it's a Vajra, and then the powers of the Dhyani Buddhas, the Buddhas of meditation, that come into manifestation. And those of you that know Buddhism, the Buddhas of meditation are the transmuted correspondences of the 5 sense perceptions, the 5 instincts.